Did you know? The Berlin Wall stood for 28 brutal years. But what led to its sudden rise? From 1961 to 1989, a massive concrete barrier tore across Berlin, splitting the city into east and west. This iconic Cold War symbol imprisoned an entire population behind its oppressive grip. Let me take you through the remarkable rise and fall of this tragic divide. Imagine waking up one morning to find your city divided, families separated, and freedoms restricted. This was the reality for Berliners when the Berlin Wall went up on August 13, 1961. You've likely seen the famous images, people risking their lives to escape over the wall, crashing through checkpoints in stolen trucks, or dangling from makeshift ropes. Why such desperation to flee? Because the wall wasn't just a physical barrier, it was a deadly fence locking East Berliners inside a totalitarian regime. Imagine living in constant fear, your every move monitored by the brutal East German police state. One wrong step near the so-called death strip lining the wall, and trigger-happy guards were authorized to shoot on sight. No questions asked. At least 140 people died trying to get to the other side and escape this oppression. Their tragic stories, like that of 18-year-old Peter Fechter, are burned into history. In 1962, Fechter was left bleeding to death for nearly an hour in full view of the world after being shot mid-escape attempt. Cold-blooded East German guards simply watched him suffer, becoming a searing symbol of the fight for freedom. So how did this horrific barrier first arise practically overnight in 1961? In the aftermath of World War II, a defeated Germany was divided into democratic West Germany and communist East Germany. As economic conditions worsened in the East, its citizens began fleeing in droves to the West, a major embarrassment for the Soviet-controlled regime. The solution? Slice the capital Berlin into two by ringing the border with barbed wire, then replacing it with a grotesque concrete wall, intentionally designed to be inescapable. Apartment windows were bricked shut, neighborhoods bulldozed, and families torn apart in an instant. Can you imagine watching your loved ones disappear behind that concrete curtain, forbidden from any contact? For 28 agonizing years, the wall projected the Soviet Empire's iron grip over the oppressed East Berliners dwelling under its shadow. Yet even this cruel barrier couldn't permanently stem the tide of people yearning for liberty. As communism weakened across Europe in 1989, mass protests in East Germany eventually forced the regime's hand. On November 9th of that year, the unthinkable happened. An official accidentally announced that East Germans could freely cross the border. Within hours, ecstatic crowds flooded the checkpoints, people dancing atop the wall itself as impromptu celebrations erupted across the city. Finally, that detested symbol of oppression was powerless as the people it had imprisoned joyfully tore it down with their bare hands. The Berlin Wall's fall marked the crumbling of the Soviet Empire and the end of the Cold War. Its dismantling reunited a long-divided city and allowed freedom to finally pierce that cruel barrier after nearly 3 decades of hardship. So, what did you think of this story? Let me know in the comments. Until then, goodbye.